you're beautiful movie lovers. My name is Louie, aka Movie Phantom, and today we're talking about the brand new Dreamworks movie and Charlie Kaufman written movie, Orion in the Dark, which is recently released on Netflix. And personally, I was pretty excited for this movie, and while I'm not the biggest fan of Charlie Kaufman, I haven't really seen much of his work, but definitely I will, try and watch all of his projects very soon. Though I love Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, it's one of my favorite movies ever, and I absolutely adore that movie, and I definitely need to give that a rewatch, because, I don't really remember it much. But anyways, with this movie, heard about it when it was, announced, at least when, back at the Annecy Film Festival, and from that first image alone, I was pretty excited for this movie. And now I've finally seen it, and it's released, and I am very happy to say that this is an absolutely new classic from Dreamworks, and I think this may go down as one of, if not Dreamworks' most different movie, even with it having kind of the same kind of stuff with it. But for the most part, anyways, it doesn't fully feel a lot like a Dreamworks movie, mainly in the last 30 or so minutes. First off, with the animation, I did really like the animation, and while I did have some issues with it, I did think it really was very well. I love the style of these night entities. I love their designs, and it really shows with what they can do and puts it all into those designs. Something I really love about animation with animated designs on characters is that you can really tell a lot about them, and this movie is no different. Like I said, with the night entities, they are really great. I loved the color on them a lot. They were incredible. They were genuinely overall great to look at, and also they were pretty good characters in general, but still with the animation, I thought it was really well done, and like I said, with my issues with them, I did think it was very creative. I also liked with the animation with, the main character Orion, who's played by Jacob Tremblay, does these drawings in a sketchbook, and they also come to life, they also come to life, technically, in, near the end. I don't want to really get into spoilers, but they do come to life, and I love with their style. I absolutely loved, these drawings coming into the setting, and it really was, and I really love the creativity with that, and they do convey emotion very well, particularly one scene, earlier in the film where we go inside of someone's dreams and all this shit is happening, and I really liked, that part with it conveying terror, cause I really like the horror vibes in it, and even though it's not the most terrifying thing ever, and you do know what's gonna happen, but it does still work with what it's going for. And with the writing in general, I really did like the writing in here. Though I did have some issues with it that I'll get into later, but for the most part anyways, I thought it was pretty good. It does kind of have those, generic humor in most kids' movies. At times it does feel like it's a kids' movie, but it is definitely a family movie. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this is just for kids, because it isn't, but it does at times feel like it's for kids with the humor, but that's not really a bad thing. The humor in general can be pretty funny, and while not the best or most funniest thing in any movie or show or whatever, really, it is still rather funny. And with the writing in general, aside from the humor, I did think it was, overall pretty well written. It did have a lot of story elements that I really liked. I loved, with the creativity they had for these ideas. This is definitely like if Inside Out was not about emotions, but was, about night entities. And I really did like, how they wrote it like that, and it doesn't really feel too generic or too similar, and while there are similar movies out there, it is able to do, enough to make it its own thing. And these characters are also very great. They all put a smile on my face, and they were all very well written and interacted with each other perfectly, in my opinion. Particularly Dark, who's played by Paul Walter Hauser, who, like I said, I love his design a lot. He is, like, the perfect entity for the Dark. And Paul Walter Hauser's performance in here is incredible. He fits the character perfectly. And even though he is pretty funny and jokey at times, he is definitely a more dramatic character than I expected. And he had a lot of emotions with him that is kind of makes it a little sad, in my opinion, and he conveys it beautifully, and I love the way he performed as his character. And also Jacob Tremblay in here also did a really great job on this character who is terrified of everything, kind of like someone else. And also the other night entities are also very great. My personal favorite being Quiet, who technically absorbs everything that's making a loud sound, and I absolutely loved it. He is both cute, but also genuinely kind of a decent enough character. I'm not saying he's the most compelling character ever, because he is technically just there for cuteness and all of that, but it does fit very well. Definitely the most rounded off the night entities that isn't Dark is Sweet Dreams, who is actually played by Angela Bassett, who also does a great job in here, technically having a calm voice in here, but is very serious at times, and you can really feel her emotions in here, and I think Angela Bassett does an incredible job. Overall, I really love the characters in here, and I thought the actress did a great job. And also the pacing in here for a 90-minute movie, it does have a lot in this story. There is a lot going on in here, and I did think the pace was really good with conveying all of it and not fully rushing through everything, and it does go fast. It is fast-paced and all of that, but it never feels like it's really rushing everything. Though my biggest issue with this movie is by far with the last 30 or so minutes, and I'm not saying it's bad. There are some moments that are incredible, particularly one that I'm not gonna spoil, but it's in someone's mind. And don't get me wrong, it's a great scene and all, but with what happens with a decision they decide to do, it's not in there, but it's definitely one thing that I was a little wary of, but I did like, and then it kind of went a little absurd when it went along, but nor would I say it's really that bad. I get the point of it and all of that, but still, it does kind of feel a little muddled. Though I do think they did an overall good job with it, but still, I kind of wish that they didn't go fully over the top. It's technically the only issue I can really think of, and while there are some other nitpicks in here that maybe I'd have to rewatch for it, I really enjoyed this movie. And also, I want to say this, I'm not gonna spoil it and all, but there's a joke in near the beginning that just was so funny to me, and so far anyways, they have given me the best laugh of a movie this year so far, and it is worth watching, not just for everything else with the animation and characters, but also for that joke also, which is just so funny. You'll know it when you see it. It involves Dark with him, telling, something. I'm not gonna say it. It's not really telling at all, just you'll see when you watch it, or you'll know if you've already seen it. Overall, I really enjoyed Orion in the Dark, and I can already see this being a modern Dreamworks classic, and for me anyways, I think this will probably hopefully become a new Dreamworks classic. It is definitely their most experimental movie they have done, and while it's not the most experimental movie out there, for them in general it is, but still, I overall would highly recommend this movie if you are a Charlie Kaufman fan or a Dreamworks fan. It is very great. I had a lot of fun with it. It conveys emotion and humor very well. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm gonna give Orion and the Dark a B, and I can definitely see this going higher on a rewatch. So those are my thoughts on Orion and the Dark. What did you think about this movie? Did you love it, hate it? Let's agree, disagree down below in the comments. Come and tell me. My next review will also be for Migration and Argyle. I am very excited to review one of those, not one or the other, but still, I hope you enjoyed watching this review, and as always, stay awesome.